Bayern Munich 2, Stuttgart 2. Super game, Janusz Michallik, but that's the third game in a row in the Bundesliga that Bayern has dropped points. Did Stuttgart deserve their draw?
I think they did. I think they caused all kinds of problems, right? Made it very, very difficult for Bayern Munich to do anything, especially in the center of the pitch. Joshua Kimmich was trying his hardest. I don't think he had a great game. Obviously, Jan Goretzka came in after injury, after Marcel Sabitzer has been really, really tremendous this season, finally for Bayern Munich, because he struggled to adapt last season, as we all know. So, if you look at the two disallowed goals, on the softer side, you have to say both on Joshua Kimmich. Guirassy has caused Bayern Munich all kinds of problems. He was the man in the end to draw a level this late, and you have to say, bit silly for Matthijs de Ligt to give that. I kind of get it. It's mistimed. You see Guirassy this close. Obviously, you try to block the shot, and unfortunately, it was a foul, was the right decision. But in the end, Mark, as you said, very sloppy and very inconsistent Bayern Munich in the Bundesliga.
For the history made 17 years and 136 days, Matthijs Tell becoming Bayern's youngest ever scorer in the Bundesliga. He's already been on target in the Pokal and now getting the opening goal in this one. This kid's ascent has been rapid, but he's got all the tools, it looks like, doesn't he?
Yeah, it would probably be up about him if it wasn't for the draw and a little bit of different lineup. Let's not forget, this is sandwich after that tremendous win away at the San Siro, beating Inter, and of course waiting now next week to face Barcelona and Robert Lewandowski. So great for the youngster, no questions about that. Jamal Musiala, once again, if you look at it at Bayern, very, very good, scoring a tremendous goal, although it did look like he picked up a knock towards the end. So that will be a worry, because obviously here a lot of changes for Bayern Munich from that game against Inter, 6, I believe. So you can understand why maybe that sloppiness, but I don't know if it's an excuse. You can understand the draws, I suppose, to some degree against Union Berlin and Borussia Mönchengladbach, because both of those sides have been good early in the season. But yes, if you look at Bayern, Mark, you start the season on such a high note. Bochum 7-0, Eintracht Frankfurt 6-1, 29 goals. Before today, 29 goals scored, 6 conceded. It's the 6 conceded that's unusual for Bayern, let's be honest. This is in all competitions, by the way. So they've shipped 2 more today, scored 2 as well. But yeah, last 2 games, as you said, only 1 goal scored, and today 2. Not really, really great if you're Bayern Munich, but I wouldn't worry.
Stuttgart, trailing by a goal to 0 at halftime, thought they'd equalised. VAR thought otherwise, but it only took them 5 more minutes to get back on level terms. 2 things. 1, your take on the disallowed goal, and 2, your take on the equaliser.
Yeah, on the, I'd have to say it was on the softer side, but I think in the end, if you dissect that absolutely, you'd have to say that it's probably the right decisions, right? That's what we have VAR for, and you get to look at it in a slow motion. I think it was the right decision. But in the end, you got to give credit to Stuttgart. Let's not forget, this was a historic match in the sense that this is a Southern derby. It goes way, way back in terms of how many games they've played so far. And if you look at Pellegrino Materazzo, this is probably one of those draws, and how many have they had already? Like 4 or 5, I think. This is one of the draws that he won't mind. He was very, very unhappy about the draw against Schalke. In fact, he said it was the worst game of the season so far. But I think coming to Munich and getting that in the last minute or in stoppage time, getting the draw was just. And I don't think there'll be many complaints, seriously, from Bayern Munich. At least I wouldn't want to hear any of them.
It was only 3 more minutes before Bayern got themselves back ahead. And it doesn't matter if you're playing at the Allianz Arena, if you're playing at home against Bayern, they're always a threat. And when they went 2-1 up, you kind of thought, okay, they're not going to throw this one away. But they did.
Yeah, it just didn't you have a feeling though that they weren't really dangerous in the first half, the way the game started? Not too many super chances for them, and I think part of that was because it was congested in the center of the pitch. I think Alphonso Davies and Mazraoui were good, right? Mazraoui was really spot on. Pavard has been good so far. Stanisic came in for him. Obviously, players rested, and Sadio Mane. We all know about the players that weren't there, but I think they've had some joy going forward. But again, defensively, early. I think Alphonso Davies on that first goal, remember, was well read by Mavropanos, if memory serves me right. The ball out of the back wasn't special. Overall, it was one of those games that were, you almost indifferent about Bayern Munich. And I don't think we have many, because usually they create those chances. I've mentioned how many goals they've scored so far. So I just wonder, obviously we saw what Bayern are capable of against Inter, because that was a superb performance, one that kind of gets you snapped into attention, saying, yes, Bayern are for real. If you dismiss Bundesliga and the 7-0 and 6-1, I was kind of waiting to see, but they were physical, they outplayed Inter every which way. So it kind of tells you that they've got what it takes to not only win the Bundesliga, but obviously be very significant contenders in the Champions League. And then with this Barcelona game coming up, kind of felt like one of those performances where I don't know if they overlooked Stuttgart, but it certainly seemed that way.
Well, the equalizing goal came, and they got a bit of a warning just before from Guirassy, who thundered the ball against the frame of the goal. It stayed out. I think the frame of the goal is still reverberating from that. But then it was down to VAR. The referee saw the challenge in real time, didn't give anything. It was Matthias de Ligt. He was penalised by VAR. And you and I used to commentate on Serie A. We remember when Matthias de Ligt went to Juventus. It did take him a few games just to settle down a little bit and get to the player that we know. There were times today just looked a little bit not himself. And ultimately, once it was slowed down and we saw the challenge again, there's no complaints there. And that's a first goal back in the Bundesliga for Guirassy since 2017. And he took his penalty well, didn't he?
As we mentioned, was superb on the disallowed goals. And if you look at the crossbar, and of course, ultimately scoring a beautiful penalty, by the way, talking about pressure, right? I mean, the way he put it past Manuel Neuer, zero doubts about that, unsavable in any way. When you look at de Ligt, I suppose he could have been a little bit tighter when that ball was getting to Guirassy. I think that's the only way he could have done better. You can understand he's trying to block it and mistimes it. So zero doubt about the decision from VAR on this one. If I had to make an excuse again, is the changes, right? Luca Hernandez has been the partner of de Ligt. It was Upamecano. Maybe, but again, I don't know if you can put it down to that last goal. Who's to say that if Luca Hernandez would have been there, would have been better? So no excuses there, because for Bayern Munich at home to concede in stoppage time like that, you can't make too many excuses there. And as you said, 3 draws now in the Bundesliga. So at the very least, they're making it interesting. I still think favorites, obviously, and ultimately, I think when you look at this busy period because of the World Cup and how congested and condensed, I should say, the Champions League is, I think ultimately Bayern Munich are going to be where you expect them to be. Probably,
but that's a super point for Stuttgart. And those 2 dropped points right at the end of the game will hurt Bayern Munich. 2-2, it finishes in Bavaria.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.